Fallen, Chapter 4, Naive Magic. Everything in my life changed the moment Twilight Sparkle arrived in Ponyville. Destiny had taken hold, and there was no stopping it from making me one of Equestria's heroes from that day forward. I never once pictured myself to be a paragon and defender of the world, but I guess fate is strange that way. Do I regret it? No. Those days and adventures I had when I was with my friends were scary, but I would never trade them for anything. Twilight in many ways was a friend anyone could get along with. She might have been the elements of magic, but she represented all of our elements as one. It wasn't a surprise to me that she became an alicorn. In fact, I couldn't think of a pony who deserved it more than her at the time. If there is one good thing I can say about Celestia, she trained Twilight to be a good pony, which makes it all the more heartbreaking and disappointing to see her like this. Twilight loves Celestia, maybe more than her own mother and father. After all, she practically raised Twilight and taught her everything that she knew. Yet, I had hoped, really hoped, that Twilight was intelligent and wise enough to see through her love of Celestia for the monster that she had become since we arrived on Earth. But sadly, she didn't. Twilight is too close to Celestia and believes in her so much that there's nothing I can think of that can break the bonds that they have. Yet, just because I don't hate her doesn't mean that I don't blame her, in part for what has happened. Twilight helped engineer that horrible potion that had turned humans against their very selves into something monstrous. The new foals are just wrong. I don't even know what to call them, but I refuse to call them ponies. It's like looking at a soulless creature programmed to do what is told and never refuse a request. I've heard stories about ponies even asking them for sex, and they do it. One rumor was that one pony soldier joked about ordering the new foal to kill himself, and she did much to her horror. I don't know if it's true or not, it may just be a lie, but it begs the question of just how flawed this potion is if it can take away basic survival instincts. I can't think Celestia or Twilight made such a thing intentionally, not even Lyra believes that for all of her hatred for the two. But even if they didn't, the fact that they still use it is wrong.
What do you want, Twilight?
I ask while trying to wipe away the last of the sleep spell forced onto me.
I honestly do not know.
Twilight whispers, with both sorrow and anger in her tone. She closes her eyes and lowers her head while her wings flap gently behind her.
I still can't believe that out of every pony I knew in my life, Fluttershy, that you would be the one that betrayed us. We were supposed to be best friends forever. The six of us to the very end. And you ruined that.
I sigh, before getting off of my bed and facing her with as much bravery as I can muster. Out of every pony I feared coming across, Twilight was on the top of my list. I've seen how she can fight even long before the war, and I know how dangerous she can be. It's hard to imagine that the gentle and socially awkward bookworm I knew living in Ponyville was as fierce as a dragon when enraged. There was a reason the human soldiers called her the Purple Angel of Death. If there is one thing that Twilight holds dear, if you hurt anyone she cares about, she will destroy you.
You don't think I wish it could have been different? That I didn't have to leave behind my home, my family, and my friends? But I couldn't just sit on my flank doing nothing, Twilight. Not when we were hurting, killing, and outright assimilating a species out of existence when they asked to just be left alone. How can you say that after everything that we've seen from them, Fluttershy?
Twilight asks, stunned by my response.
You've seen the damage that they can cause, the ruin they bring. I'm not saying all of them are evil, but we couldn't let them continue the path that they were going. For Equestria's sake, Fluttershy, we were almost killed by them during our friendship tour by those terrorists who thought that we were demons. I know, believe me. It almost made me never want to step into human lands again.
I say, with a shiver. The tour idea was all Twilight's brainchild. During our second year on Earth, Twilight had to bring us and a few others around for a world tour to promote the teachings of friendship and harmony. It was about us telling our tales, showing examples of friendship and teaching humans to be better. Some places took it well, others didn't. Kuwait was one of them, where some religious radicals believed that we were demons that needed to be killed before we could bring ruins at them all. And so, they tried to bomb the place with suicide bombers, but security stopped them. I wonder if they feel justified knowing what has happened since. Needless to say, the tour didn't do well as we'd hoped, but I received letters from those who attended who liked it. It made me feel that there was a home for the humans. But I guess it just wasn't enough for the others.
I get why you feel uncomfortable with what we did. I know you didn't like the idea of going to war, and I didn't either.
Twilight says as she points to herself.
The princesses and I didn't go through with the decision that easily. We thought about it for months. But we realized that there was no other choice. Did you realize that, or did Celestia realize that?
I asked with a raised eyebrow. Twilight didn't answer. She just turned her eyes away and rubbed the back of her hooves. Sometimes I think of some of the Resistance members all had the right nickname for Twilight, Twilight Suckup. Because despite Twilight's ability to think for herself, she can't resist obeying Celestia no matter what.
It doesn't matter what happened in the past, Twilight. We can't take back our choices. And even if I knew where I would end up in the end, I would still do it. So even the pain of your friends means nothing to you. What we've all had to go through, as well as all of Equestria?
Twilight demands as she stomps her hoof down, and a spark comes out of her horn.
Do you have any idea what I've lost? I do.
I answer before shaking my head.
And my answer to you is the same as it was to Rarity. I'm sorry that you lost your brother, Cadence, and Flurryheart, Twilight. In fact, the nuclear bomb was something a lot of us hated happened, and that's the only thing in the war that I really hate what humanity has done. But keep in mind that you pretty much nuked their cities as well. You couldn't expect them to just not retaliate, any of them, by how you killed billions of their own people. Flurryheart was just a child.
Twilight sobs as she closes her eyes. Despite her angry face, tears come down en masse.
So were so many others. And you don't think there weren't children in Rome or Mecca? Or what about all those who were unable to escape the barrier as it took over their homes and fields before wiping them out in a brutal death? All those children in places like Australia, China, India, South Africa, Guam, and many more. All of them crying for their parents just before being melted in a nothing but gloop. Not to mention all the orphans who had to walk miles and miles for food, shelter, help, and many didn't even survive halfway across the journey. What about them?
I ask with sorrow in my heart. All these souls, especially the little ones. I can only hope that they're at peace in heaven.
This war has hurt everyone, Twilight. We've all lost someone. Even me. I lost Discord. I know,
Twilight says before glaring at me again.
but if you think I'm gonna mourn him, you're mistaken. I was willing to give him a second chance after Tyrek, but after he betrayed us all? No, Discord, I realize now, could have never been reformed, and we should have kept him in stone all this time. Besides, if Discord hadn't sabotaged the Crystal Cannon, then Princess Luna and I wouldn't have needed to fight in Jerusalem, and she wouldn't have been killed there thanks to those damn Thalman generators. Discord was more of a hero than you will ever know.
I replied back with a snarl.
Almost every human in the world loved him. Ottawa even had a statue of him back in Canada after saving them from your assault. He has saved countless soldiers' lives and helped other ponies that hated the war escape before your secret police would have imprisoned or eliminated them. What are you talking about?
Twilight asks in confusion.
The secret police just isolate the dissenters and keep them safe while educating them on what's right. You really don't know what happens, do you?
I ask.
What are you talking about?
I snorted.
Well, for such a smart pony, Twilight, you sure are dumb. And for some pony who used to be so kind, you become a bitch.
Twilight snarks as she shakes her head.
Did you really have to hurt her, Fluttershy?
Twilight asks while glaring at me.
She was your friend. Rarity told me that she was glad Discord was dead. The only thing I regret now is breaking her face more.
I said, shaking my head.
Relax. I'm not gonna attack you. It would do no good. Believe me, I'm almost tempted for you to let you try.
Twilight answered, shaking her head.
Listen, Fluttershy. We want the war to be over with too. We're not stupid. We know that without the barrier, the humans would come for us. There's no point to the war anymore. We want a ceasefire on equal terms. A ceasefire on equal terms?
I ask in disbelief.
Last time I checked, Twilight, you had lost all the territory that you even took from the humans. Most of the new foes are in their hand now, after you abandoned them. The Crystal Empire's gone. All that's left is Equestria itself. And both of us know the humans are gearing up for an invasion unless you agree to an unconditional surrender. What equal terms do you even have? That's why we need the elements of harmony!
Twilight explained before taking a few deep breaths to calm down.
Listen. Originally, we had just planned on using the elements to escape this world and go to a different one. Why not go back to our world?
I ask. That didn't make any sense. Why not retreat back to our world where they could be safe? Then again, it had been nearly 15 years since we left. How much had changed?
Because Princess Celestia said that something was blocking us, some sort of dimensional interference, or something that just isn't preventing us from going back to our worlds, but also to other worlds. So, we're stuck here.
Twilight answered with a shrug.
She says everything is fine back home, but we just can't go back at the moment. But anyway, I figured out that there was a chance to make a new barrier using the elements of harmony's power. It would just be like the barrier the Crystal Hearts made for the Crystal Empire. But it couldn't stop a nuke.
I point out. Even with all the crystal heart power, it was nothing against the power of nuclear energy.
What makes you think that this would be better?
That is a peculiar thing to think about, how a magical shield could defend against a nuke. Probably not well, but it could shock us. Anywho, let's get on to our spectacular donators. Top donators are 630, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, and only one thing. TacoCat598, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin Rollins, CrazyCliff557, StuHex, Will, Omicron Larry, Chris, Twinkie, Dospo, Delta Omega, Jack Edge, RuneScythe9852, Madman Stan, Lizzie Perkett, Drake Lovedragon, Hunter Norman, Stephen Bingham, LionGod12, Sorcerer Constantine, Hadzaza, Conver, and many more super duper wonderful people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.